Shannon. Now this is podcasting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Guess what? Big development. Big news. You can see us here. We got video, baby. We got video. Today, face reveal. We were going to do this in an epic way. We were going to go to New York, but I prayed about it. Doesn't seem right. So we're doing it this way. You guys can see the chaos that is my office. Today with me, co-host Jason.
Hello, everybody.
We're here.
We're back. We're live. You can see us on video now.
Yes.
Or maybe you just listen on audio, and that's fine too.
Yeah, maybe you just listen on audio. Also, what I do see happening is that this is not going to work somehow.
Possibly. Might be difficult.
Yeah. Somehow this is going to blow up in our faces, and this is going to be uploaded with only audio. So if that's if that's what happens, then you guys know now we've spoiled it. We're trying to get video started, but I guess it didn't work. Unless it did, in which case you are watching the video. In which case you're watching the video. Don't do that while driving.
It might just be that they're uploaded separately as two different posts.
Yes. Honestly, I don't even know. Can you do video on Substack?
Yeah.
You can? Okay.
There are video posts allowed. I don't know if it's
Sick.
a limit. I don't know if there's a limit to how long it can be.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out. It would be weird if Substack limited video lengths because it's like a long form posting, whatever. Inside baseball. What's going on with you guys? Hope you guys had a good week. Jason, what's going on with you?
Oh, my parents were here for the last week.
Nice.
We got to tour around. Got to go to the town of Jefferson. Got to go to, is it Caddo Lake or Caddo Lake?
I don't know.
It looks like it's pronounced Caddo, but
Caddo. Everybody says Caddo.
Oh, I thought I had been hearing Caddo.
Oh, well then maybe everybody says Caddo.
We don't know.
We don't know. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. We didn't really prepare for it very well, but it was neat nonetheless.
Yeah.
I've got that it's kind of a French Quarter looking little downtown.
Okay.
The town of Jefferson, a historic town. We were with kids, so there wasn't a lot of perusing through museums and reading plaques and everything, so I don't know that much about the history of Jefferson. We'll go another time.
A shame.
Yeah, no, I think my wife and I might make it our anniversary destination and go and actually explore it like adults.
Yeah, nice. There you go. Are there any good drinking spots there?
Possibly. We ended up having dinner at a bar because we didn't want to go to like a nice bistro with the kids.
Yeah.
Our youngest is just under 2 years old and very active.
Yeah.
And so we didn't want to go somewhere too nice where people would be upset. She can also be very loud.
Yeah.
She hasn't yet learned to be quiet, and it would take her out of service a lot. They're in and out of the foyer and the main service.
Yeah.
Several times every Sunday morning. Well, what's going on with you?
Dude, I should have eaten. That's what's going on with me.
Yeah.
I'm so hungry right now.
Are you? Okay.
Yes. As I sat down. I'm so hungry, and I have no energy now, dude. This is a mistake. We're going to summon it up, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on with me? I got fired this week, dude. Think about that. Think about that, dude. I got fired this week. I got fired. My boss, when my boss hired me, he knew, I mean, we talked about it, like kind of, not ad nauseum, but it was like very clear that I was going to need help and training and coaching. And then he had to do that. In his head, he had this image in his head of like
you're a protege.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had this image in his head like I was going to be his little man, and he's new to the job too. Like he hadn't been like a manager before, and so
the reality of that set in.
Yeah, the reality of that set in, and he just
pack was a little too heavy.
Yeah, he didn't want to spend the extra 4 hours a week like having to like.
So he left that backpack halfway up the mountain.
Yep, he sure did. Yeah, he hired me, and in the first 3 months, I didn't really talk to him once.
Not very much protege like.
No, not at all. No, what he really wanted was he wanted to hire my dad's son and have my dad teach me how to do everything, and then he got to like
Take credit.
That's what he wanted
for the rising
to happen.
star.
Yeah, that's what he wanted to happen.
It sounded cool.
It did sound cool, and it sounded cool to me too.
Yeah, it sounded cool on paper.
Yeah, it sounded cool on paper, but it didn't work out. So I think he got in trouble with his boss for having hired me. And then and instead of saying, and I think that this is like maybe Christians are like this. I don't know. In my experience, it's not. This is a very pagan thing, but like pagans are very quick to do or say whatever they need to say in the moment to expediently save their own ass. You know, and that was one of the things that just. Oh, dude, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go back to work at some point. I don't know when. I'm probably going to take a break just because I need it.
Yeah. You were pretty worn down.
Yeah, man, that was brutal. Like there was, so I got all these conflicting reports. So there's, all these relationships and back channel stuff. And so you get the official narrative and you have the official meeting where you're terminated or whatever. I wasn't actually fired. They just asked me to resign.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I'm not
going to fight it.
Yeah.
And stay in a position where they don't want you.
Yeah. I was like, I was in front of the HR lady. I wasn't going to throw I'm not him. So I wasn't going to throw my boss under the bus. So I was like, yeah, I get it. We thought it was going to be one thing and then it's being this other thing. And it's nobody's fault, really. Like, it's cool. Well, it's not a fit. We're good. And his response, like instead of just being forthright and being like, all right, yes, we made a mistake here. Like I was even giving him room to just be like, it's nobody's fault. Like, it's just miasmic. It just magically happened like this. Like, I totally gave him that out. And even then he was like unable to just say that because he felt bad. And instead of just being okay with feeling bad and being like, okay with guilt and being like, yes, I've made a mistake here, which he didn't have to say out loud. He could just have that internally in his head. And just like, go get a beer after work and text me later and be like, hey man, I'm sorry that it, whatever. Like, it could have been super easy to deal with. Instead of that, he started this, and he did this to me once before. His defense mechanism when something's his fault is to make it your fault. So that it's actually not, he doesn't have to feel bad. It's your problem. You did something.
Yeah.
And so he starts going through this thing where he's like, an average normal rep would be able to do this, what we thought was good, whatever. And as he started, I knew, because he'd already done it to me once a few months ago. So I hit him with the hand of silence. I was just like, I wonder if it works on my wife. I was like,
be still.
Yeah, I just went like this, just raising my hand like this. And I went, Evan, stop talking. And he did, and he just stopped talking. So I was like,
the power of the hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, dude, it's good. I went, Evan, stop talking. And I said, look, we have a good story here. You don't have to do that. It's okay. Just let it not be a fit. Just let it be like that. You don't have to make it anything else that it's not. Let's just let it. Let's just do this well. We're good here. It doesn't have to be a fit. And then he teared up and like took his glasses off and like rubbed his eyes.
Yeah.
And like put his glasses back on. And he was like, well, Ethan, I will say I do like you a lot as a man. And my thought was, Evan, that translates pretty well to your skills as a salesperson. If your like personality is good. Yeah. This doesn't make a lot of sense. But, and so I got a lot of like conflicting reports and my numbers were actually really good.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, they're really good. Like, but my numbers up front on the first half of the year were not great, but nobody's was. Everybody's was really, really, really bad. And that's why he was firing me, because he was like panicking because everyone's numbers are really bad.
Right.
And so he's trying to like weave this story of like, this is what happened. This is why this year didn't go well, or this is why H1, the first half of the year, didn't go well, because I have this bad rep that he knew was bad when he hired him, said he was going to train and then didn't. So my numbers were fine. My numbers were solid for the second half of the year, which is what they wanted, right? I mean, I had a ton of pipeline. And then my dad called his buddy, who's good buddies with Evan, and was like, they were trying to figure it all out. And Evan told him that it was like these other people, whatever, blah, blah. And then those other people reached out to me Evan was saying it was these other people didn't like me in front of other customers and didn't think I had the right presence. Then those guys reached out to me and they were like, what happened? Where'd you go? Did you get a new job? And I was like, no, I got fired. They told me you guys got me fired. And they were like, what? They were like, we've never said anything negative about you to anyone ever. We were very happy you were here. And then they all texted me and were like, that's BS, dude. That is not true. We didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
And then
that's new. You hadn't told me that yet.
Oh yeah, I haven't told you that yet. Yeah.
This story has been unfolding for the last week or two.
Yeah. And so they were like, that's not true. We didn't say that. And then they were pretty much all of them were like, if you need another job, we've been doing this for forever. We have tons of I know tons of managers.
Right.
I have I can think off the top of my head 2 people I know that are hiring. Just let us know.
Yeah, if you want to get
you
back
as many interviews as you want.
Cool.
So they were putting their money where their mouth was when they were saying that they didn't, think that was true.
Nice. Okay. Not just a gesture.
Yeah, not just a gesture. It had some action to it. And so I reached back out to the HR lady and I was like, hey, I've got this information here. It's new information. It doesn't really seem like what Evan said happened. And so I would like to look into that. She immediately we'd been super cordial the whole time.
Yeah.
And she'd even thanked me for being so professional. The moment I gave her any sign that I was not going to go quietly into the long good night.
Yeah.
She was like, well, Ethan, what do you want? We've already done your term. We've already terminated you. And I was like, okay. I mean, all right. I thought we were going to be nice about this. If we're going to be hostile, let's get hostile. So I went, Stacy, I haven't signed that agreement yet. And I have 7 days to recant on it, even if I did. And I will make this a problem. Do not act like a very reasonable request that I'm making right now that has to do with my career and my income and my family's well-being is ridiculous. I have new information. It's not absurd for me to ask this question. I would appreciate it if you quit acting like you think it is. And she was just like, well, I'll just have you know, I have seen written statements that are from people in the company that corroborate some of these complaints. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Good. That's all I'm looking for. Just need that. And I said, next time you say that nicely. And then she was like, okay, well, do you have this, whatever? And then we got into the business of whatever. We just went past it. But yeah, so yes, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted with dealing with these people who cannot
just be upfront about stuff.
Yeah, they just can't overcome their own fear. It's like in Dune, which is kind of one of the things that I don't like that they softballed in the Dune movies, which is in the Dune books. There is several moments where they clearly bifurcate the culture there. They think that there are humans and then there are animals that are walking in human bodies. And part of what they do is the reason Paul has to put his hand in the box. Did you ever see the movies or read the books?
I read the book,
okay.
The first book, and I saw the first half of the part 1.
Yeah, okay. So the part when he puts his
hand in the box,
and then the gong jabber, they hold. Yeah, and she says we are trying to filter out animals.
Oh, okay.
People who are not in control of their own minds and will
Gotcha.
React negatively to outside stimulus out of their own control. And it's just exhausting.
Just a matter of survival.
Yeah, man, it's exhausted. It's exhausting being the young guy. That's what I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be the young rookie who's coming in here, doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground, doesn't know what's going on. And I'm exhausted by being the one who has to manage 40-year-old men spazzing out because they're scared. Yeah. And be like, dude, you make $1 million a year. How are you here if you're
unable to handle this?
Yeah, you don't have a frontal lobe. You're not a thinking, breathing human being. You are an animal. You are beneath human being. You are not a conscious. You're conscious you're conscious until it gets tense, and then you become unconscious, which is probably the most important time to be conscious, is when it's tense. So, yeah, man, I was just beaten down, exhausted. I'm tired of feeling like there's going to be some new thing coming at me from any direction.
Just constantly on the flinch.
Oh yeah, dude. So I don't know. I might peace out of the workforce for a few months and then come back. But yeah, dude. That's what's going on with me. Woof. I do feel an immense sense of relief, though. I feel like somebody took a bag of sand off my chest. Yeah, which is nice. But I am trying to. I'm having a hard time telling people that I got fired because people react as if it's like I don't think it's that big of a deal. It doesn't bother me that much, and people are not. They haven't reacted that way so far. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry," whatever. Yeah. And then I feel like I'm in this position where I'm like, either have to basically like be like, oh yeah, it sucks, oh my goodness, I'm so sad, or try to communicate to them in some way that I don't care, and that is like makes me feel like I'm like, I don't know, it's weird. It makes me feel like I'm being like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, and then secretly in my heart I'm like, oh, I got fired. So I don't know, it's strange. So I haven't really been telling that many people, but now everyone's gonna know. So yep, shouts out everyone, I got fired. So yeah, that's what's going on with me, dude. That's my life. But that's also why we're on video, because that was a good, like, I did a lot of praying.
Now you're almost making sure you can't go back to that workforce.
Well, no. I think I should be able to go back just fine. But I just was doing a lot of like soul searching, praying, meditating, and and that's one thing. That's one part of the story I think is important that I should include for everyone to hear, which is that the day I got fired, I was like hands shaking, like crying. I was crying that morning, praying like, Lord, this doesn't feel right. This feels like I'm doing the wrong thing, and it seems like this is the exactly right thing.
Right on paper, that's the logical thing.
Right,
but you grow up, you go to college, you get a job, you provide for your family. And you keep the job no matter how uncomfortable it is.
Yeah, you just Or
you're doing all the right stuff. You ticked all the boxes.
Yeah, or I'm climbing into the belly of this beast that I hate to go extract, riches so that I can pull it back out and throw it at, a real good adventure. And so I was just like praying, like, Lord, give me some hope. Like, just give me some sense, just give me some break from this feeling, because this feeling is so dreadful and I hate it and I'm exhausted from feeling this way. Can't sleep. I'm just miserable. So like, give me some hope, some sign, or please make this feeling go away. And then like 2 hours after I got done praying, I got fired, and I was like, okay, well, that's pretty clear.
Direction.
Yeah. Got it. Understood. Yeah. So
message received.
Yeah. Yeah. So after,
now you're just waiting on the second half.
Yeah.
What to do now, God?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think I got a pretty good plan, but, after the soul searching and stuff, I listened to a Sam Hyde thing, like the day that it happened. And he was like going on and on about like, common sense being like common sense and like planning, not necessarily planning, but like common sense is for people who want to be safe. And like, you have to kind of lay it all on the line to do something extraordinary. Like, extraordinary is not the realm of common sense.
No, and we talked about this at length in our episode Burning the Boats.
Right. Yeah.
So go back and check out the episode Burning the Boats.
Yeah. Yeah. So after much prayer, I decided that the path was not necessarily to just like go all in and not ever get another job and just try to make it doing this, but rather just kind of burn the boats in the sense that it's like, I'm just gonna put my face and name to this and then go get a normal job and then just do that job until
this one becomes the normal job.
Yeah, until this one becomes the normal job, or this one makes me unemployable, which I would imagine those two things the timing on that like will only godly. Be popular enough for me to get reported to someone as being an internet homophobe racist, just in time for it. Like, only enough people are going to see this to make that report by the time this makes enough money for me to not care anyways. That's my plan. That's the gamble I'm making. But yeah, so that's what's going on, dude. That's what's happening in the
Ethan realm.
In the Ethan realm. Yeah. So, exciting times ahead.
Yeah.
Let's cap that off. Let's cap that exciting times with some good old-fashioned. You guys know it. You love it. You actually...
Maybe only listen to Work Hard for this segment.
For this one segment, and then you turn it off afterwards and you go. And I know that when we say this, when we give you these recommendations, you immediately, you take time off of work to pursue these beautiful works of art, these pieces of media that Jason and I enjoy so thoroughly. This is In Between the Couch Cushions, which is those you are new listeners, that's kind of like happening all the time, pretty much at every episode at this point.
Hopefully.
This is the segment where we go over just some of the old stuff, the old media, the good media, the stuff that's cool that we've seen in the past that we think is probably old enough for younger people to have forgotten. Certainly a lot of it was made before I was even born. And so it's stuff you might find between the couch cushions when you're looking for the remote or something like, oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, let's watch this. So that's the segment. We're going into it now. Jason, would you like to lead us off with your recommendation?
Yeah, my recommendation this week is the children's novel The Indian in the Cupboard by Lynne Reid Banks. This is the basic premise is that I think the name is pronounced Omri, the main character, young boy, probably 12 years old or something. He discovers, it's his birthday and his friend at school gives him a little plastic Indian figurine, basically.
Yeah.
Cheap, crudely painted. And he goes and puts it in I think he found some old cupboard somewhere with a key, or he finds his mother's key that actually, he finds a bunch of he finds a key that fits the cupboard that
there's
he
a
found.
Key. There's a key involved somewhere.
My goodness.
Somewhere there's a key.
There's a key that he finds.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he's able to lock this cupboard.
Unlock Obviously, the cupboard or lock it?
Both.
Okay. Well, yeah, it is
he can lock and unlock
That's true. It is
This
a key.
is one of those keys.
Yeah.
You don't need two keys for this cupboard.
Yeah. Okay.
They had invented double-use keys by then.
Awesome.
Yeah. So he, it has like a little display shelf or whatever in there. So he sets up the Indian in there. He's like, all right, cool. And he like closes it and locks it for whatever reason. And then in the middle of the night, he kind of wakes up because he hears something moving inside the cupboard. And he ends up opening it, and the Indian figurine's gone. And he's perplexed.
Spooky.
He's looking around, and he finally sees the Indian, but it's a live person the size of the figurine. It's a live, like, Native American warrior, like, crouching there in the shadows. So it turns out it's a magical cupboard, and any plastic figurine that he puts in the cupboard and locks it turns it real.
Yeah.
And not just makes it real, but pulls that person out of history. It pulls an individual from history into his bedroom in a miniature form.
Sick.
It's a very cool story.
Yes.
Yeah. There's some sobering parts to it too. Like he pulls a medic out of World War I or something like that, because his Indian gets injured, and so he finds a figurine that looks like a medic. Yeah. Pulls the medic out, and the medic is talking about how he heard, like, before he was pulled out of this, and he thinks it's like a dream.
Yeah.
That's how he's making sense of this, like that there's this giant, and he's got a Native American with a wounded leg that he has to tend to, and he's like, all right, whatever. But so he patches him up, and he sends him back, but then he tries to bring him back in the future, and it's just a little pile of folded clothes. Because that medic was killed in World War I. Oh. When he sent him back, he was killed in a bombardment.
Yeah, okay. I forgot about that part.
So that's when he realizes these are real human beings in history that are somehow pulled forward.
Yeah.
When he puts their figurine in this cupboard. But there's all sorts of fun adventures of him, like, having Little Bear, the Indian, wants to build a longhouse?
Something.
Not a teepee.
Some kind of Indian structure.
Yes, not a teepee, though, because he gives him the teepee, and Little Bear's like, no, that's not the kind of, dwelling I live, so it's, anyway, he decides to build his own with, like, twigs and, so he's, like, constructing this thing in his room, and anyway, it's a lot of fun.
It is cool.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
I will say that there's 3 books. I would only recommend the first one and maybe the second one. The third one gets into some weird, like, origin of the cupboard thing.
Oh, it just ruins it?
I just remember being really weirded out as a kid.
Yeah.
Reading that and being like, what is this? Is completely out of left field. Like, just leave it being a magical cupboard.
Yeah.
Like, why does it have an origin story?
Yeah.
That has to do with, like, some guy who symbolically locked all of his PTSD in this cupboard and then made it was very weird, spiritual kind of.
Yeah, dude, that's a side note. You don't always have to have an origin story, all right?
Yeah.
Please. One of my favorite, dude, the TV show Severance, season 1, for real, maybe some of the best television ever made, not being hyperbolic. It's as good as The Sopranos, if not actually better. Like, it's extremely good, season 1. Season 2, booty cheeks, never watch it, not good. But now I have to know the answers to the questions from season 1, so I'm hooked. Watching bad television.
That's how they get you.
Tragedy. And it's partially bad because we have to do all these origin stories. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Any in the Cupboard's good. My mom read it to me when I was little before I could read. It was sick. Awesome.
What's your rec?
My rec is the movie Animal House with Steve Buscemi and I think it's Steve Buscemi. I don't remember what that guy's name is, but what was the director's name?
I don't know.
David Lynne something. I don't know. I looked it up just now.
I'm pretty sure they can find that.
Yeah, just look it up. Animal House, National Lampoon's Animal House. Very good. Very good to just an ode to just male mischief.
Okay.
It's just about this fraternity.
He's all grown up and he's all grown up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very swingers, not a movie to watch with the kids. I don't think there's not really anything massively inappropriate.
Oh, by the way, I think VidAngel is one of the censoring. You can watch.
VidAngel.
I think VidAngel is one of the services that you can watch movies on and turn on certain kinds of filters.
Okay, cool.
So
yeah, good. Yeah, from what I remember, there's not really anything actually super explicit in Animal House. There might be some nudity, maybe. But if there is, I can't remember.
Well, be careful, folks. Go and read the IMDb Parents Guide. I found to be pretty accurate as far as detailing.
Yeah. I would just say, in general, the message is not... I would watch it if you are out of college. Watch it. If you're in college or younger, it will fry your brain. So it's very funny and cool if you're capable of guarding your heart. But my dad showed it to me when I was 16. Definitely wasn't a good idea. It's very good. It's about a fraternity. It's about this rat fraternity that's one of the bad ones on campus. They live in this destroyed house. They've thrown cans through the windows and they're firing guns in the house and it's very, very good. They just have this rivalry with this other fraternity that's all suit and tie, nice, whatever.
Oh, okay.
And it's just a very good there's a very debonair. The president of Animal House, the Animal House is very this debonair kind of careless, but does everything really well, just kind of effortlessly moving through life kind of guy. And
one of those.
Yeah, and it's a very good living your life like that all the time. Not a good idea, but having a bit of that in your soul. That ability to just do mischief is very good. And so just every once in a while peppering a little Swingers, a little Animal House into your media consumption and just, maybe at work you just give somebody a little check, little give them a little sly comment. They're not ready. They're like, what? You hit them with that, or, you spend a Saturday with the boys.
Just to keep life interesting.
Yeah. Blowing something up or buying we had my buddy tells this story a lot of his cousin is a cop, and that's actually not relevant to the story at all, but his cousin had to drive back and forth a lot for work. I don't know why, but he bought this really just crappy $1,200 Honda to just rip it back and forth from city to city. And he was in the car with his cousin once, and he was 15. And his cousin's 28, almost 30, something like that. And they're in the HOV lane, and he missed the exit to get out of the HOV lane. Uh-huh. And, the HOV lanes in Texas have those those little pylons that stick up to separate the HOV lane from the regular. It's just these little plastic tubes that stick up.
Yeah.
And so he missed the exit. And instead of figuring it out, he just saw the exit to get off the highway a mile down. He saw it and was like, oh, crap, I'm not going to make it. And so he just pulled through the HOV lane and just went through all the plastic tubes that just went just like across the hood. And he just carelessly went across. He just didn't care about the car and just like went to the exit. And my boy said he was like, dude, there was like snot running out of my nose, cry like. I'm gonna panic. I'm laughing so hard, like just like squeal laughing, watching my older cousin. I'm 15, just go through the thing, just destroy his car. Like he was like the hood. He's like we pulled over to the gas station and the hood was completely demolished. Like he couldn't get it to close anymore, so they had to like go into the gas station and get
buy
like
zip ties or something.
Yeah, like zip tie it closed. Just demolished his car. For maybe 15 minutes. What does that say?
The movie recording has been stopped automatically.
Okay, great. Well, told you it was going to be a problem. So, guys, the movie recording has been stopped automatically. This is going to be an audio only. The Lord has stepped in.
Well, maybe we said something clippable in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be able to use the video for that.
Yeah.
You might see it in a reel.
Yeah. So that's that's Animal House, dude. It's just an ode to male mischief is a good way to say that one. So there we go.
That concludes Between the Couch Cushions.
Yes.
Okay, rolling right along to our main topic for today.
It's here. All right, Jason. What are we talking about today, bro? Tell me about it.
Today we are talking about how to engage online as a believer. So this we had multiple topics that I'd written down as ideas that kind of play into this, how a Christian should interact with the online world and still be Christ-like, but also not just be a pushover either. And it's a very difficult line to walk. And as we're discovering, I've already discovered it prior to this through just Facebook posting, but it's becoming more and more, it will become more and more of an issue and something that we're going to have to deal with as more and more people listen to this and more people interact with us and our wives online. Some of you may have seen the interaction. My wife reposted our episode, How to Sell Your Children, that was a couple weeks ago, popped off a little bit.
Yeah.
Not massively, but...
I mean, for us, massively.
Massively for us.
Yeah.
It's now our second most downloaded episode after Get That Woman a Fig Leaf. Anyway, my wife had some interactions and debates back and forth with some other Christians who were not terribly pleased.
No.
Or at least just didn't agree. They strongly disagreed. That's a better way to put it. They strongly disagreed with her position because she was also backing up a lot of what we had said on that episode. So go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. And if you're friends with my wife, go check out that post and read through it. I think she did a really fantastic job of engaging and defending her points biblically and laying out her case for why we don't public school and also why we're going to be very careful about what sort of college or higher education our children undergo, how we're going to go about doing that, if we're going to go about doing that. And that really is just dependent on what they're interested in. Whether or not they're interested in going to college, it may or may not even be an issue for us. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, we appreciate the engagement. For one, I mean, just at a very base level, that's what a lot of what drives engagement with us. That's what drives more downloads and views, and also, as we've said before, we are just part of the conversation. We have some strong opinions and we state them very strongly, and obviously other people have strong opposing views, and so we are looking for engagement like this because we do want to arrive at truth, and there are other people's insights that we do not have. We are just two guys, and we have enough different views that when Ethan and I have discussion, we do pull stuff out and kind of knock some of the rough edges off of each other and knock down some of each other's straw men. But there's other stuff to be discussed and pulled out as well. And so we appreciate that when you guys, our audience, engage us on it. So, but how do we do that in a manner that is Christ-honoring, how do we engage? How do we say things that are Christian? Because I'll back up. Christianity is offensive. Christianity, the gospel message is that you're not good enough on your own.
Right.
Also, a lot of the things that you feel or that you want are not legitimate wants. You should not want some of the things you want. Chief among these might be people who struggle with same-sex attraction. The Bible's very clear that that is a sin. The Bible's also very clear that sexual activity outside of the marriage bed is also forbidden. So for anyone who struggles with like pornography use or masturbation, things like that, that is also off the table and in the same category of sexual sin. And so we are speaking out against that. And people both on our side of the aisle and especially on the other side are going to be very upset by that. So how do we go about engaging these topics in a way that doesn't shut down conversation, but rather engages conversation and ultimately, hopefully, points to the holiness of God and helps us all arrive at a lot closer to truth than we did prior to the discussion. That's how we'll frame that.
Yeah. Yeah, that works. And I think one of the things I think the first step in this process is identifying like friendlies or people operating in good faith versus people who are just out to get you, or they're just enemies. They're foreigners in a kind of royal sense. And I think that matters a lot. So there's one of the things that I've gotten kind of tired of, and I think a lot of people, and we're talking about online, so I'll say online, a lot of people online that I've seen on our side, people have gotten pretty tired of explaining themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like pretty tired of justifying why they believe what they believe to people, because that's been used as such a weapon to like, to deconstruct the worldview, is just poke holes in it until it just means nothing.
Part of it, so one aspect of that is that somebody might not know why they have all those views.
Right.
They're not aware enough. They haven't done the soul searching and the meditating and the research, the contemplating necessary to actually justify or to back up their worldview, in which case they just shut down and go, look, I don't have the time or energy. I just believe this, and you got to honor that, or we can't have a conversation.
Yeah.
The other part of it is that we've talked about this some, or I guess to use an illustration, back in our Bitcoin episode. So go check out the Bitcoin for Dummies episode, which also features Ethan's father as our first guest on Work Hard.
Yeah.
Great episode explaining the basics of Bitcoin to me, who didn't know anything about Bitcoin going into it. Anyway, but you, Ethan, had said in that podcast episode that you had done a lot of the research and decided that Bitcoin was a solid bet, but you weren't necessarily prepared to go back. You hadn't freshened up on it.
Years later, you forget why
you don't have all the stats to hand.
Right. Right, exactly. And so, yeah,
so it's exhausting to go back and do that when someone goes online and you're like,
I
don't know.
Right, yeah. He's like, listen, 5 years ago when I figured all this stuff out,
I could have answered very easily.
And I trust myself enough to know that 5 years ago I was right.
Right.
But even then, like, even if you are like highly equipped to articulate, what it is you believe and why, you have to be careful. You have to be careful. You have to be careful with who you actually engage with and extend that favor to. Like Sam Hyde has this great, I get self-conscious about like referencing him so much, but I guess we do with Doug Wilson too. So whatever. Sam Hyde
even things out a little.
Yeah.
Not for some people.
Sam Hyde has this clip that went viral of him talking about, explaining what an American is.
Oh yeah.
And I may even
You referenced this.
yeah. So I mean, the point is that basically he says at the end, you can have this conversation about the particulars of what an American is amongst your friends that you like and know and trust.
Yeah.
And that debate you can have. But if you have an actual foreigner come in, like somebody from another country come in and go, well, an American is this or whatever, that is not debate time. That is not time to debate. And he says, if somebody starts using definitions at you and you have to look stuff up, we're not doing that. No, you're getting called a slur. Whatever slur, I don't know. Whatever slur I feel like calling you in the moment, that's what you're getting called. And so there are
which work hard is not advocating. Or are you
Jason's
advocating
not
that?
advocating.
All right, Jason's half of work hard's not advocating.
Jason's half
using
of work hard.
slurs when a foreigner challenges you on your Americanness.
I think if the person is like sincere and that's what I'm saying is the difference is if the person's sincere, then you should engage them in a sincere discussion.
Yes.
You should be serious with them. You shouldn't insult them. You shouldn't go after them in any way and engage in ad hominem, whatever. You shouldn't insult them. And you should be sincere. You should be as sincere as they are. But there are a lot of people who are very cynical and they don't care about the truth. They care about being right. And any amount of explanation you give them, any amount of
not going to help.
It's not going to help. And so the only thing you should do is call them a slur. Like you should just get them out of your face.
So I had an example of this
on
X a few weeks ago. Somebody was poking holes in, I think it was in a discussion, some sort of mosh pit surrounding biblical slavery.
Yeah.
And somebody was just trying to poke holes and obviously hating on Christianity.
Yeah.
And I was pretty sure that this person was not interested in an actual discussion.
Right.
And so my comment was something to the effect of, look, I'm happy to discuss, and if you're genuinely interested in having a discussion, I'll have it with you. I said, but if you're just interested in like slinging mud or whatever you're doing, if you're just interested in tearing down Christianity, I was like, we have nothing to talk about.
You're an enemy. Yeah, you're just an enemy.
So I said something like that. They didn't respond, and so that was that.
Right.
I didn't try to... The mistake you make online in engaging that person is wasting a lot of time. They're just riling you up. Right.
They're riling you up, and you look... It brings you down to their level. You look like a fool in front of everyone else.
It depends. Some situations you can just give them a really solid biblical... Potentially.
Yeah.
It really depends on what it is, and that's what we're talking about in this episode is, or at least right now, is knowing the difference. And there's a really great proverb that speaks to exactly this. Proverbs 26 verse 4 says, "Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him."
Yeah.
And
perfect.
then the next verse 5 says, "Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit."
Yeah.
So the difference is, it sounds, if you read that, it can be confusing. You go, is it saying two different things, one verse to the next? Surely the writer of Proverbs wasn't an idiot.
Right.
What does he actually mean? It means, in my understanding, that there are certain situations when somebody is being a fool online and you can correct them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means, I think, one comment, which is what I was doing, saying, you're not here for a serious discussion, and that shut him up.
Yeah.
That shut up that fool. I don't like to necessarily ignore those people entirely, because then it looks like I have no response.
Yeah.
So I think that's the danger in not responding to those people. But if you just say, I'm willing to have a genuine conversation with you, are you willing to have a genuine conversation? They'll be like, no. And they won't respond. Or they'll respond with something else idiotic. And at which point you're like, never mind, I'm not even going to respond.
Yeah, that was an answer in and of itself.
That was an answer. If you're just going to continue slinging mud, if you're going to be a monkey throwing poo, I'm not going to poop into my hand and throw it back.
Right. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah.
But there are times when somebody is just mistaken and grossly, they're being a fool, and you can engage them on it, and they're willing to be wiser for it. Or the other thing that the other reason that I find it profitable, or I believe it's profitable to engage some fools online, I don't think that they're the ones listening.
Right.
But the ratio of people who actually interact by liking a post or commenting on it compared to the amount of people who see that is huge.
Right.
Like 3 people might actually interact with you on a post, but 50 see it.
Yeah.
And you can be a witness to those 50 who quietly read it and then move on. And they'll go, oh, Christians do have answers to these things. And so you're sowing seeds or you're watering seeds by having those interactions online. And you'll never know, potentially, how much God is using that.
Yeah.
So don't when you're interacting online, I think it's really important not to get bogged down in, oh man, nobody liked my post. I guess nobody read it. Because a lot of times a difficult post, something that is hard news, as long as you articulate it well or articulate it lovingly, even though it is hard news, they may just have no response because there is no response, except that they're wrong in their own beliefs. And God may use that because it's his word going forth, and his word will not go out void. It will not come back void. So if you are using scripture out there on the internet, God very well may use that in working in somebody else's heart, that you'll never know the difference. You'll never see that in this life. You'll never see the fruit of that, but there is fruit somewhere that God is using.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's very important to weigh these things carefully. I know coming from my mouth, sometimes it can seem like I'm belligerent, but I'm the way I am on purpose and thoughtfully. And there are times where I think many things that I
thoughtful belligerence.
I'm a hammer for sure, but I'm a hammer swung only at nails, or at least I hope only at nails. And
if you realize you hit a screw, then you apologize.
Yep. I go, oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. I take that back.
Missed that.
Yep.
Which is why we want you guys to interact. Because if we're wrong, we want to know we're wrong. And we'll admit it if we are convicted by scripture that you bring to us, and we'll say, yeah, shouldn't have said that, or we will correct that, we'll readdress it.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah. And there are multiple examples in scripture of Jesus declining to engage with people who are just trying to get one over on him.
Yeah, the Pharisees would concoct a question and send somebody to ask him, to trip him up.
Yeah.
And he would respond with another question that showed, I know what you're up to.
Right. I'm not playing this little game you're playing.
No,
here.
I'm not playing this game.
Yeah.
If you're willing to actually engage, why don't you answer this?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He would turn it back on him. Jesus was the most clever and
Surprise.
intelligent. Yeah. Shocker. Yeah. God actually knew it. Yeah. Yeah, it's brilliant. So Jesus is a fantastic example of engaging the fool according to his folly.
Yeah.
In the right way.
And there's one time that I'll always bring up, but there's one time where he chose not to engage anyone in any conversation and just beat them until they left. Physically flogged them until they ran away. So, there are times, and they may be unique, but there are times that that aggression is more appropriate. And I would say that we are kind of in a unique time because we're in a fourth turning and things are unraveling a little bit. We are in a unique time where the whip is going to be more commonly necessary and appropriate than it would be otherwise. There are going to be a lot of people who are not, you're not going to change their mind.
In a peaceable Christian nation,
yeah,
Jesus wouldn't be overturning tables.
Yes.
And neither should you.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
but we're not in that time. We're in a time when there's
great
open
upheaval.
Debauchery in the temple going on.
Yeah, open debauchery in the temple. And there's only, according to Christ's behavior, there's only one appropriate way to behave in that environment, and that is to be belligerent. Now, again, as much as I hate introducing nuance into a situation, you do have to be...
Ethan, king of nuance.
Yeah, exactly. King of... Yeah. you have to be extremely careful about wielding speech as a weapon. You have to be very honest with yourself. You can't get angry. That's one thing that's very important. Like, no matter how much some pagan comes at you. The other day, a while ago, actually, a few months ago, they were having a satanic like meeting or whatever downtown in our town.
Really?
Yeah, and there was like all these Satanists or whatever, and they were like, they had booths, and they were sitting out there carving little statues, and they had totems or whatever, and little jewels, I don't know, whatever Satanists do. My buddy and I were having a beer not a block away, and his friend, his like old friend, was there as a like Wiccan. And so they were texting or whatever, and she was like, "Oh, you're here. I'm going to come by and sit down and talk to you." And so she came and sat down and like started talking with us. And I'd had a couple.
Imbibing.
Yeah, I'd had a couple, and me and my buddy were already arguing about whether or not the Earth was flat. Shout out! You can go actually see an interview I did with him. Hyper Premium presents the Flat Earth. So I was already in a like giddy sort of like let's talk kind of mood.
Yeah.
And so I found out just through conversation that she was a Wiccan and was down there being a Wiccan. And I was like, so tell me about being retarded. Like, tell me what that's like. And she got to her credit, she kept a somewhat level head. Like, she didn't get like immediately angry. But
did you ask say retarded?
No.
Okay.
No. I didn't know at that point if she was a person to be called a slurred and dismissed, or if she was just a nice lady who was misled, you know.
Gotcha.
Which
okay.
she was, just a nice lady who was misled. And we didn't. I was never actually rude to her, but there were multiple people who were kind of orbiting around us who were also coming from the festival to have some beers.
Oh,
and there were a couple of those people that I did. One of them I just completely ignored, like said something to like have her back, and but was being snarky and obnoxious.
Yeah.
And I just didn't even turn to like look at them or face them or anything. And I just, but the point of me not doing that was because it made me angry.
Yeah.
And so like, you just can't, that's a huge part of it. That's a huge rule that I have, is that I will never respond while mad.
Yeah.
So
you've got to keep your cool.
Yeah, you have to keep your cool. So I just ignored this person, and I'll give you, actually, I'll tell you another. So once I did respond when I was at college, and Trump had just gotten elected, and there were all these protests. And one time they had a protest downtown, and they'd done the stop traffic thing. So they'd made like a body chain and were not letting cars through. And, it made me angry. And so I went down there angry, and I was like, I'm going to show these stupid liberals, these libtards, what's what. I'm going to make them mad too. I'm going to get justice. And I went down and acted a fool, and, made a fool of myself, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Stooping to that level.
Getting one over on them, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But to what end, you know? They all went home and thought nothing of it. And if they thought anything, they were just more angry.
Yeah.
Didn't consider any of my points. And I, of course, didn't consider any of theirs. But it was just, it was a foolish adventure. And I walked away from it at the time being like, ha ha ha, I'm like the man. I'm like so smart and cool, and like nobody can argue with me. I'm like cool and like the man. And now I look back on it, and I like, if I think about it, if I'm like eating dinner or whatever, and I think about that moment, my like toes curl. It's like such a shameful moment of, I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how to manage myself, but you will carry that shame with you. Like, you'll just be embarrassed by that moment.
Yeah.
I got the very first time I ever went to kiss a girl, and she went, whoa, like, no, we're not like this. The very first time that ever happened to me, it's the same level of like embarrassment and shame as that experience. Like they're both like, if I think about them, I like I have like a physical reaction of revulsion of my own embarrassment. So it's not a good memory to live with if you get hot-headed and act out of turn. Even if you like get one over and you look like the cool guy in that moment.
Yeah.
When you are no longer emotional and now you're chill, you will feel like a idiot.
Yeah.
You will walk away from that being like, I can't believe I did that. To what end? Like what?
Yeah. What did that accomplish?
Yeah. What did that accomplish?
Did I honor God in that moment?
Yeah. And you'll get far enough away from the environment that like you'll get years enough removed from the memory that you can't actually remember how like your friends reacted to it. So your brain will fill in the blanks and then you'll remember it as your friends being like, oh, what a dork. Like,
Yeah.
This guy's, why is he doing this? And so you won't even, maybe your friends are like high-fiving you at the time. You're like, yo, that's all you told him. Maybe, but in 10 years, you won't remember it like that. You'll just remember the embarrassment and the shame. You won't even be able to picture anybody's face. Like you'll just remember the shame of it. So, that's a practical, kind of, I'm obviously a big advocate for swinging the hammer and using slurs and making fun of people to their face if you feel like it's necessary. And I'm a big advocate of matching people at their own intensity. So like you're in the kind of, I know this is like an online thing, but because I've had a lot of these interactions in person, the thought that I often have is like, I'm chill until you're not chill. And then I'm not chill. Like that's the thought that I have is like,
okay.
I'm like with the HR lady, like I'm going to be totally jive until someone here isn't jive. And then we're going to be not jive and we're going to do that. We're going to play that game. So let's get real combative here. Like if you want to get like, and that maybe that's a character fault that I have, maybe I shouldn't be that way, but I have a like, all right, if you don't want to be cooperative and collaborative, we're not going to be that way. So I'm now going to make it as uncooperative and as uncollaborative as I can possibly make it, short of hitting you. Like we're going to get aggressive here. Like, so like, but you're choosing that. You're choosing to play that game. So if you want to play that game, let's play that game.
Maybe, but you might be able to bring somebody back down by keeping your cool. And at the very least, I think it's kind of a win if you are able to keep your calm when the other party is not. That to me, if that happens to me online, I'm winning the argument just by not rising to their level. That being said, so that's like an emotional level. That doesn't mean that you can't be as aggressive as they are while still keeping your cool.
Yeah.
So if they're going to, and while you still are being Christ-like about it, so if they start calling you, here's my advice. If they start calling you slurs, you win by not calling them a slur back and continuing and pulling them back and saying, are we going to continue this argument? Are we debating or are we just going to get nasty and name call?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point from Jason. I would say default to Jason's style. I will say this.
I guess because people get emotional. People get very emotional about topics that are very close to them. This was exemplified in the post that my wife made, and there was some definite, personal emotions at play. Yeah. And the way you come out of that is to keep your cool. Yeah. And you're going to make a mistake as soon as you get upset as well. Yeah. 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 Arguing from a point of emotion is not arguing anymore. It's just fighting. Yeah. Yeah. Let me make that very clear. Just saying that I'm hurt and I'm going to, and I don't want to paint this person as lashing out. They didn't lash out. It was a very civil interaction. So I won't say her name, but shout out to you. You know who you are. Sister in Christ. We appreciate the interaction. Yeah. We hope you listen to more. And we are planning a follow-up episode on that episode. I think there's been enough feedback on that one, both through the posts that my wife and the interaction she had, as well as our good brother and friend Chris, who commented on that episode, who has some points and maybe some some subtleties to it that we didn't quite address. So, which is good. So we haven't talked to him yet, but Chris, you're coming on the podcast to discuss that with us at length.
Yes.
So be looking for that, everybody. We're at an hour, so do you have any closing thoughts, or should we just shut this down and move on to the next
Enjoy
one?
these sandwiches my wife just brought us.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'm always going to advocate for having a stronger hand, being less willing to engage with people. I'm always going to be an advocate for ridicule over debate when it comes to engaging evil. But I think it's very important to understand that to get to a place where I am now, where I feel comfortable doing that, I had to learn a lot of very embarrassing lessons and look like an idiot a lot.
Went through a bit of humility shaping.
Yeah. And so I know now, or at least I hope I know now.
You know better now, anyway.
I know better now where for sure.
We're all in some stage of development.
Yeah. I know better now where it's time to pump the brakes and not engage or talk differently with people. So I just don't, the thing I'm afraid of doing is like setting a bad example here. I'm almost 30 and I've been arguing with people on the internet since I was 16 and arguing with people very viciously in public since I was 20 years old. And I'm actually pretty confident saying I'm pretty good at it at this point. And I learned the hard way. And so I would just advise to the people listening to this, when I'm saying that, take that into account, that I'm speaking from a place of having done this for a long time, and I'm being very thoughtful and being very considerate of the other person's feelings and in deciding whether or not I actually care about their feelings. It's a strategy. It is not thoughtless and reckless.
It's not flailing.
Yeah, it's not flailing.
It's a precision shot.
Yeah, it is a precision shot, and so it's really important to me to not set a bad example here and give people just permission.
It's like, well, to reference Doug Wilson, he says people who try to emulate him because he's doing something very precise.
Yeah,
he believes he's doing something very precise. I know there's plenty of people, even people listening to this, who would disagree with that statement, but his intent is he's speaking to a very specific audience, and other people who read it may be offended or hurt by it, but the message isn't really for them.
Right.
And so you need to not read it like he's talking to you if you don't actually fall into the category that he's speaking to, which is the problem with public speaking like this. People are going to listen to this and be offended by something, maybe rightly and maybe wrongly. It may not be meant for them.
Yeah, it may not be meant for them. And so I just, that's the one thing I want to harp before we leave, is that I really do not want anything I say to give people a license to act a fool and apply pressure where pressure isn't due. You should, if you're not used to operating the way I like to operate, you should not do it, generally speaking. You should always lead with grace and kindness and just assume people are out to, figure things out and not necessarily out to come get you. And
don't reflexively just kick everyone who engages with you.
Yeah. And don't use, I have a very strict set of rules around the types of words that I'll use publicly, when I'll cuss, when I won't cuss, when I'll use slurs, when I won't use slurs. And those rules I've established over 10 years of talking like this after being saved. Yeah. So it took me a long time to get here, and I still pray about it and think about it and often defer to Jason's judgment on when I should say things or not. Jason gets to decide what gets cut from this and what doesn't. So there's, and if I had an elder at our church come to me and say, you got to dial this back, that would be a very come to Jesus moment of okay, I need to very seriously consider what he's saying. And so I take that stuff very seriously. So it's funny and it's a joke and and I do it in a lighthearted way, but in the background, I'm taking it very seriously, and there's a lot of thought that goes into it. So please don't say faggot lightly. Don't be misogynistic and making jokes about the ineffectual affects of women passively. There's a method to my madness, so please don't let me be a bad influence, I guess is what I want to say.
All right,
but
good.
That's it.
No, good tip. Good takeaway.
Yes.
Good clarification. What I will close with is the other thing. When you're engaging online, you need to know what you're talking about to be a good witness.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're talking about, that it's okay to engage, but don't engage as if it's a hard fact. What I like to say, when I'm not 100% sure on something, you can simply add the phrase, "It's my understanding that da 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 da."
Yeah.
And then that gives the other person room to go, actually, here's the way it is. And then you can evaluate that statement and say, okay, am I looking at the scripture the right way? I didn't agree with this guy's point, and so I engaged with him and said, that's not what I understand this passage to mean. And then you're providing space for that guy to engage you and clarify his point and maybe offer other scripture to back it up. So don't barge in to some space when you don't know what you're talking about. So that's why on Facebook, I pretty much started only because I didn't know enough about politics or policy, law, any of these things, but I had done a decent amount of research on abortion, and I was very careful I would only engage and only post about abortion issues that I could defend very solidly. So I had all my arguments pretty much laid out from talking with people or researching. And so whenever anyone would engage, I was really ready to just gently pound them into the earth.
Yeah.
And be like, no, that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had one where I just asked the question. I was like, is there any medical reason for an abortion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the answer is no. The only possible one, there's ectopic pregnancy is the only possible one if you want to call that an abortion, but it's not a pregnancy that will result in an actual, it's just going to, it's an ectopic pregnancy is where it implants outside the uterus. So I think there's only one documented case in history where a woman was able to somehow carry a baby to term, not in the uterus, and it survived and she didn't die.
Yeah.
Normally it would, the baby would both die, or severely injure the woman, and the baby is not. It's just what you're doing, and I say this very carefully and cautiously. I hope I'm not advocating for abortion in this case, but my understanding is that having an abortion in that case is just removing a life that cannot be.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a technology yet to remove that and replant it where it should be. If there is, I'd advocate for that, as opposed to but it's just a way of, I view it as, and this is the way my parents also viewed it as, look, if neither one of them is going to survive by just letting things be, it would be allowing this woman to die for no reason.
Yeah, you're killing the woman.
Yeah.
You're not saving the baby, you're killing the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're allowing the baby to die, and you're killing the mom in the process because you're saying, well, we can't perform an abortion. Abortion is flat out wrong. Right. And I would say, yes, in 99.99999% of cases.
Yeah.
And there's no other medical thing. There's obviously there's ranges of risk, and that's where people get it's medically necessary. But it's not necessary. Necessary is a word that they use that is not correct. So anyway, I knew a great deal about it and was able to engage anybody who actually debated with me, and nobody, as far as I was concerned, ever got one over on me in that case because they had no founding to stand on that wasn't emotional.
Right. Yeah. 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 So there you guys go. There's an hour. Just be cautious. I would say, default to Jason's style of communication with people. If you do feel the need to take my angle, if you're online, you're going to have time to pray about it and think about it before you send your response.
Yeah, don't respond right away.
Yeah.
You do not have to respond in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You can wait a couple of days.
if you're in person and you want to take my angle, which most people don't because it's extremely hostile and might lead to like an altercation, I would say do it lightly. Okay, don't call somebody a name to their face. Just say they don't know what they're talking about, something like that. I don't know, but don't.
Only if you know that they're not actually that they don't know what they're talking about, because then you're the one who doesn't know what you're talking about, and you're the fool.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
Don't be the fool. All right.
Yeah.
That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening. If you have comments, questions, concerns, feel free to please comment on any of the posts or platforms that we are on. We are on Substack. We are hosted on Substack at Hyper Premium on Substack. We are also on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We have a Facebook group, Hyper Premium on Facebook, so please follow us on there. Most of all, we crave your email subscriptions. So please go to the Substack and enter your email there. Then you will get notifications whenever a new podcast episode drops. We really appreciate that. We appreciate you sharing this, liking it, and subscribing and talking with us about stuff.
Yeah, we got multiple podcasts. Death with Deity and Work Hard are what we're posting most consistently right now.
We've got a couple others in development that will be coming in the next few months, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. We've got Hyper Premium Presents, which are special interviews that I do. We're on Twitter now, Hyper Premium DGT. That's the tag or the whatever the username.
The
handle. So
Hyper Premium Digital, DGT.
Get into it, guys. Become obsessed with this. Become obsessed with us and our work. Because it's going to be more than podcasts, at some point.
We're talking about animation.
Uh-huh.
Yep, we're talking about animation. If you want merch, let us know what kind of merch you want, because that's coming down the pipeline as well. Hopefully we'll be designing some stickers today if things go according to plan. We'll see. Anyway, we love you, and we're praying for you. Please go to church, find a woman or a man, marry that person, and have some babies.
Bye.